In this video we're gonna spawn the pipe from random position. Okay, every after 3 seconds the pipe will spawn and it will spawn from random position. Okay, as you can see in the game view. Okay, so without furthering delay, let's dive into this topic. We're gonna make a spawner script from we're gonna make a spawner script and we're gonna spawn this pipe from 3 points. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to create those 3 points. So go to hierarchy. Okay, right click, create empty game object, name that to spawn position, something like that. Okay, spawn position. Okay, spawn position, and go to inspector. Okay, right click, reset the transform. Okay, and select the move tool. So I'm gonna select an icon. So go to inspector, hit this box. Okay, select an icon. I'm gonna select the red one. Okay, so right click on the spawn positions. Okay, right click on the spawn position and create empty child game object. Okay, and select an gizmos. I'm gonna select this yellow one. Okay, not yellow one, I'm gonna select the red or red one. Okay, I'm gonna select the red one. I don't think it is red. Leave it is. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create 3 points. From those 3 points we're gonna spawn pipes. Okay, so what we're gonna do, select this game object and control D to duplicate and move it down. So we're gonna and control D once more. Okay, control D once more to duplicate one more time. So we have these 3 points. From these 3 points we're gonna spawn the spawn pipes. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna delete from this scene view. We already have prefab of that. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a spawner script. Okay, so what we're gonna do, right click on the hierarchy. Okay, right click on the hierarchy, create empty game object, name that to spawner. Okay, name that to spawner and hit enter, and go to inspector, right click, reset the transform, and select an icon. I'm gonna select the yellow one. Okay, I'm drag it over like this. So what we're gonna do, head over to script folder, right click, create C# script, name that script to spawner. Okay, pipe spawner or spawner, something like that. Hit enter and double click to open up in Visual Studio. Okay, and head again to Unity. Attach this spawner script to spawner game object. Okay, so head again to Unity, select the spawner and attach this spawner script to a spawner. So just wait for to compile. Okay, just wait for to compile. Just wait for to compile. Okay, so select the spawner game object when it's completed the compile. Okay, select the spawner and drag the spawner script to add component section of spawner. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna select the, so select the spawner. Okay, select the spawner. Okay, we select the spawner, add drag the spawner script to add component section and double click it to open up in Visual Studio. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna delete these two namespaces in the top. We don't need this. Okay, so what we're gonna do, over here we will define two variables. Okay, float variables. Firstly we're gonna make it public to see inspector. So I'm gonna make it first the time between spawn. I will call this one time between spawn. Okay, something like that. And second argument create second variable we will create, we're gonna make it public to see in inspector. We're gonna call something like start time. Okay, start time. And by default we can by default you can set any value. So I'm gonna set 2 unit or 2 second. Okay, 2f. So what we're gonna do, in the start function, okay, in the start function we're gonna set time between spawn equal to start time. Okay, time between spawn equal to start time. As you know, start function get called when the game start. Okay, and it called just one time. After that, update function get called every time, every single frame. Okay, so what we are doing, we are setting time between spawn equal to start time. As you know, we set by default start time 2 unit, as you can see. So time between spawn over here will be 2 in the start when we start the game. And if we control s on your keyboard to save this. So what we're gonna do, update function, we're gonna check. Okay, if time between spawn, time, sorry, time between spawn, we're gonna pass time between spawn, and we're gonna check if it's lesser than or equal to 0 f. Okay, if it's lesser than or equal to, so we are doing it update function. As you know, the update function get call every single frame, and we are checking every single frame. Okay, so what we are doing, if time between spawn, okay, lesser than or equal to 0, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna firstly print out something like debug.log. So we have to type this, and we're gonna say message like spawn pipe. Okay, spawn pipe, and end up with semicolon. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna set back time between spawn to our start time. Okay, time between spawn to start time. Else our time between is spawn is not lesser than or equal to 0. As we know, when we start the game, as you can see, we are saying time between spawn equal to start time, and as you can see, start time is a 2 unit, so time between spawn here will be 2. Okay, so if that case, the time between is not lesser than or equal to 0. Okay, time between spawn is became 2. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna subtract until it hits 0. Okay, we're gonna subtract time between spawn minus equal time dot delta time. We are subtracting each frame. As you can see, we are doing it update function. As you know, update function get call every single frame. So what we are doing, firstly we are checking if the time between spawn is lesser than or equal to 0. Okay, if it's the case, if that not the case, what we are doing, we are subtracting time between spawn from our time between spawn from some unit time dot delta time. Okay, so what we are doing until it's 0. When time between spawn over here hits 0, so what we are doing, firstly printing out this message. As you can see, spawn pipe in the console, and we're setting back time between spawn to start time. As you can see, start time is 2 units, so this time between spawn will be 2. Okay, so in that case, time between spawn is not lesser than or equal to 0. As you know, it will be 2. So what we are doing, if that is the case, we are just subtracting minus equal time dot delta time each frame. As you can see, we are doing it update function. Okay, so control s on your keyboard and head again to unity. You will able to see every 2 seconds we will able to see that message. Okay, in the start, as you can see, start function get called when the game start, and we are setting time between spawn equal to start time. As you can see, by default we set start time to 2 units, so time between spawn here will be 2. So in that case, time between spawn is not lesser than or equal to 0. So what we are doing, we are subtracting by minus time dot delta time until it hits 0. When it hits 0, firstly we printing out this message. As you can see, spawn pipe in the console debug.log, and we are setting back time between spawn to start time. So start time, as you know, 2. So this will be time between spawn will be 2. So it will keep looping in this statement. Okay, it will keep looping in this statement. So control s on your keyboard and head again to unity and select the console. Okay, select the console. I'm gonna clear it and hit play. You will able to see every 2 seconds a spawn pipe message will pop up in the console. Okay, spawn pipe, because we set a start time, as you can see, by default 2 unit. So as you can see in the console, spawn pipe every after 2 seconds, spawn pipe message getting print out or pop out in the console. As you can see, whenever time between spawn hits 0, we are setting back time between spawn to start time. And if it's not, if the time between is not lesser than or equal to 0, what we are doing, in that else condition, we are just subtracting some unit from our time between. So time between spawn. Okay, every frame. As you can see, we are doing it update function until it hits 0. If it hits 0, then we are firstly printing out this message. As you can see, spawn pipe in the console debug.log, and we are setting back time between spawn to start time. As you know, start time is 2 unit, so time between spawn over here will be 2 units. So this statement on run, so this statement will run. Okay, it will subtract each frame until it is 0, and it will keep looping. Okay, so instead of printing out message, what we're gonna do, we're gonna spawn pipes, okay, from this three position. Okay, from this three position, so what we need to do, we need to make an array. Okay, array basically a list of objects or list of position, you can show, you can say. So in this case, this will be transform as responsible for position. So we need to make transform array. So we're gonna put all of this transform position into that transform array. Okay, okay, so what we need to do, go ahead again to you spawner script, double click it to open up, okay, Visual Studio. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make firstly we're gonna make public transform. We need to make it transform. Basically transform is responsible for position, that's why. So we're gonna make this array. You have to write this square brackets, okay, and we're gonna call spawn position something like, or point something like that. I'm gonna call it point something like that. Control S on your keyboard and head again to Unity. Okay, head again to Unity, and what we need to do, we need to drag this all of these 3 points into that array. So we will have the position. Then we can select a random one, and we're gonna spawn pipe. Okay, we're gonna spawn pipe. Just wait for to compile, and you will able to see that. Just so what you need to do, select the spawner game object. In the right you can see the lock button. Okay, lock it. Okay, lock it. As you can see point, okay, the list is empty. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna drag all of this point. Okay, all of this point, select all of this point and drag it into this point array. Now we have all of the position. So 0 is the first one. Okay, index of 0, sorry, first one index is 0, and the second one index is 1, and the third one index is 2. So what we're gonna do, unlock it and head again to spawner. Okay, so what we're gonna do, what we're gonna do, we're gonna, let's suppose we're gonna spawn from the first position. So as we know, first position index is 0. 0 is the first one. Okay, 0 is the first one, so we will spawn from here. So firstly what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a separate function. Okay, we're gonna make a separate function. We will call that spawn pipe something like. So we have to type this void. Okay, void and then spawn. Okay, spawn something like pipe. We have to name the function, and you have to this make first bracket and then curly brackets. So what we're gonna do, instead of doing, we're gonna control X for cut, and we're gonna paste it over here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna call this function. Okay, spawn pipe. Okay, spawn pipe, we have to call this function. And as you can see, well, in the spawn pipe function, we are just printing out the message, as you can see. Okay, firstly what we are doing, if the time between spawn becomes 0, okay, so we are calling this spawn pipe function. As you can see, spawn pipe function will print out in the console spawn pipe message. Okay, and after that it will set back to 2 unit by default. Okay, as you can see, start time we set by default 2 units. So the time between spawn we directly setting to start time. So that's why time between spawn will be 2 unit. Okay, okay, so in that this is, so in that condition, so time between spawn is not lesser than or equal to 0. So what we are doing, else condition, we are just subtracting some unit from our time between spawn until it hits 0. Okay, when it hits 0, so what we are doing, if time between spawn is lesser than or equal to 0, then we are calling again the spawn pipe function. Okay, and the spawn pipe function, you print out debug.log. As you can see, spawn pipe message in the console, and then we are again setting back time between spawn to start time. Okay, so it will be 2 again. So it will keep looping. Okay, after 2 seconds, every 2 seconds it will keep looping. Okay, this function will call every 2 seconds. Okay, so instead of printing out message in the console, what we're gonna do, we're gonna instantiate or spawn the pipe. So we have to use this function. Okay, we have to use, sorry, we have to use this function, a instantiate function. And its instantiate function will take 3 arguments. First, the game object you want to spawn. Okay, so we want to spawn the pipe, and the third and the second argument, it will take the position from where you want to spawn, and the third argument, it will take the rotation. Okay, So we want to spawn the pipe game object. Okay, so what we need, we're gonna make it for now double slash to comment it. So we need this prefab. Okay, we need this pipe game object. If we head over to prefab folder, as you can see pipe game object, so we're gonna spawn this pipe game object. So what we need to do, we need to create an empty field of game object pipe. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make it public so we can see in the inspector, and we're gonna call it game object something like pipe prefab. Okay, pipe prefab something like that. Okay, and end up with semicolon and control as on your keyboard and head on to unity. You will able to see an empty field of game object. Okay, pipe prefab will appear. So what we need to do, we need to drag this pipe into that game object. So we will have the pipe and we also have the position. Then we can choose a position. So in that position we're gonna spawn the pipe. So what we're gonna do, so go to spawner script. As you can see pipe prefab which says none game object. So what we need to do, drag this pipe prefab game object into that field. Now we have the pipe. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna instantiate or spawn. Okay, so we have to use this instantiate function. Okay, instantiate function, the first it will take the game object you want to instantiate. So we're gonna instantiate the pipe prefab game object and it will take position. Let's suppose we're gonna spawn from this middle point. As we know, middle point index is 1. So 0 is the first one, 1 is the second one, and the third one is the 2. So index of the middle one is 1. Okay, 0 is the first one, okay, and 1 is the second middle one, and the 2 is the third one. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna points, we have to pass this array, and we're gonna choose. So you have to make this square brackets and we have to pass the index. So let's suppose we're gonna spawn pipe from this middle point. So as we know, middle point index is 1. 0 is the first one. As you can see, 0 is the first one, element 1 is the index. As you can see the index. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna spawn from the middle position. As we know, middle point position index is 1, and we have to dot position, we have to pass this. So we're gonna spawn from the middle position. Okay, every 2 seconds, and it will take the rotation. So we're gonna say we will not rotate like that. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set this quaternion. Okay, quaternion identity, this means no rotation. Okay, this means no rotation. So what we are doing, firstly, if the time between spawn hits 0 or 0, okay, we are calling this spawn pipe function. As you can see, and spawn pipe function will instantiate or spawn the pipe, this pipe prefab game object at this point. Okay, so as you can see, we selected 1, we pass the index 1. As we know, middle one index is 1, so it will spawn the pipe from the middle point. Okay, and we are setting quaternion dot identity. Basically this means no rotation. Okay, control s on your keyboard and heading on to unity. Okay, you will able to see the pipe game object or the pipe prefab will spawn from the middle point. Okay, middle point, it will spawn from the middle point. So if we just wait for to compile. Okay, just wait for to compile, and if we hit play, we will able to see. Okay, every 2 second this pipe prefab game object will spawn from this middle point. Okay, now if we hit play, we are calling every after 2 seconds. As you can see, we set start time by 2 seconds. You can set any value like that. Okay, every 2 seconds we are calling spawn pipe prefab game object. As you can see, it's spawning from this middle point. As you can see, okay, this middle point. Okay, so what we're gonna choose, what we're gonna do, we're gonna choose a random point. Okay, we're gonna choose a random point. From that point we're gonna spawn the pipe. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to define an index. Okay, we need to define an index. Oh, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the top. Okay, we're gonna go to the top and we're gonna make private. Okay, private, so we won't able to see this field in inspector. Okay, we call integer, it will be integer. By default we're gonna set index. By default you can set any value like that. 0 0, as you know, 0 is the first one. So what we're gonna do, 0 is the first one. So if you want to randomize. Okay, so we're not gonna set any default value like that. We're gonna leave it is as it is index. So in this spawn pipe function, okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna set index. Okay, index equal to random. Okay, we have to use this function random dot range. Basically this function will take the minimum value. So we're gonna pass 0. It will include the 0. As you know, 0 is the first one. Okay, 0 is the first one, as you can see in the point elements. Okay, 0 element 0 is the first one, element 1 is the second one, element 2 is the third one, as you can see. So 0 is the first one, and 1 is the second one, and the 2 is the third one. So what we gonna do, so where 0 to, we have to pass the minimum and the maximum. So what we're gonna pass, we're gonna set point dots. Okay, points. Okay, points dot length. Okay, points dot length over here means how many points we have. As we know, we have 3 points. Okay, so it will print the index over here. Okay, will be random between. Okay, random dot range. Okay, so it will include the 0, and it will not include the third one. Okay, third index, 3 index. So it will be 0 or 1 or 2. So it will loop around between 3, 0, 1 and 2. Okay, 0, 1 and 2. It will choose so this function will choose a random. Let's suppose this one choose 1. So this random dot range, if it's become 1, so index over here will be 1. So what we're gonna pass over here, instead of specifying an index, we're gonna pass this random index. Okay, so this function over here random dot range takes the minimum and the maximum. Points dot length over here means how many points we have. As you know, we have 3 points. Okay, so it will be between 0 and 3. Okay, between this. Okay, it won't be 3, but it will be 2. Okay, 0, 1 or 2. It will loop around between these 3 index. Okay, let's suppose it's became 2. So 2 mean the third one. As you know, 2 index is the third one. Okay, so if it's 2, so it will spawn the pipe from the third position. Okay, it will spawn the pipe from the third position. As you know, the third one index is 2, so it will spawn from the third point. Okay, so it will choose between this random number. Okay, it will be 0, 1 or 2. It will choose a random number. Okay, and index will be random number. It can be like 0, 1 or 2. If it's the 0, if the index is 0, so it will spawn from the first point. Okay, if the index is 1, so it will spawn the pipe from the second point. Okay, if the index is 2, it will spawn the pipe from the third point. Okay, the index over here will be random, because we are using this function random dot range, and this function choose a random value. Okay, a random value between our 0, 1 and 2. Okay, point dots length basically means how many points we have. Okay, it will choose a random number, so the index over here will be random. Okay, and we are instantiating a random from random position. Okay, so index will be random, so we will spawn the pipe from random position. Okay, so I hope you get the idea. And if you control s on your keyboard to save. Okay, and head again to unity. So we are calling this function. Okay, we are calling this spawn pipe function every after 2 seconds, as you can see. Okay, as you can see, we set a start time by default 2 unit. Okay, you can set any value like that. Okay, so it will spawn every after that amount of time. Okay, it will choose a random index between 0, 1 and 2. Okay, and it will spawn the pipe. So control s on your keyboard and head again to unity. You will able to see. Okay, and I am gonna clear the console. So if we hit play, okay, if we hit play, we will able to see the pipe will spawn from random position. Okay, from this 3 position. Okay, it will choose a random point. The index will be random, so that's why it will spawn from the random position. As you can see, so it's spawning from the first position, as you can see now it's spawning from different position. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna tweak the start time. Okay, we're gonna set something like 3 second. After 3 second, 3 second the spawn pipe will call. So we can choose any value like that, so that's why we made it public, so you can choose any value like that. Now if we play, we will able to see every after 3 second. Okay, the spawn pipe function will call and the index will be random. Okay, and the index will be random, so it will instantiate the pipe from random position. Okay, so just wait for after 2 second, the pipe will spawn. Okay, as you can see every after 2 second from random position. Okay, from random position the pipe game object is spawning. I hope you get the idea. So what we're gonna do, in the next video. Okay, we're gonna check the collision detection in the next video. Okay, I hope you get the idea. So if you are new to my channel, then subscribe it for future tutorials. Okay, and if you enjoyed this video, you can like that and share it with your friends. Okay, to learn how to learn Unity game engine in general. And okay, and if you want to support me, you can support me on patreon.com. Okay, and lastly, thanks for watching this video.